All right, guys and girls, this is Jerningham here. A lot of people are going to be frustrated with this virus. They wish they'd had a vaccine coming quicker than they think, but we will have to wait. We all have to be patient. We're going to be watching Boris Johnson's a bit of speech talking about the coronavirus vaccine. I know a lot of people are frustrated about it.
Commons, the Prime Minister said there is a compelling case for a system of tiered restrictions in England.
We have to accept that this vaccine is not here yet. No vaccine is here yet. And while all the signs are promising, and almost every scientist I've talked to agrees that the breakthrough will
Prime Minister England
come,
says there remains of complete case
regulatory approval.
tier-free England.
We can't be completely sure when the moment will arrive. And until then, we cannot afford to relax, especially during the cold months of winter. But this is not a return to normality. I wish it was so. But it is a bit closer to normality than the present restrictions. And what we can't do is to lift all the restrictions at once or move too quickly in such a way that the virus would begin to spread rapidly again. And that would be the surest way of endangering our NHS and forcing us into a new year lockdown with all the costs that would impose. With the spread of the epidemic varying across the country, there remains a compelling case. For regional tiers in England, and indeed, Mr. Speaker, a compelling necessity for regional tiers. Our pubs, our hotels, restaurants, they're in many ways the heart of our communities and part of the fabric of our identity as a country. We've allocated £1.1 billion for local authorities to support businesses at particular risk. And today, Mr. Speaker, we're going further with a one-off payment of £1,000 in December to wet pubs. That's pubs, Mr. Speaker, that do not serve food, as the House knows, recognising how hard they've been hit by this virus in what is typically their busiest month.
The Prime Minister's got a record of over-promising and under-delivering short-term decisions that then bump into the harsh reality of the virus. I look across the House to members across the House who think that perhaps in 2 weeks their area is going to drop down a tier just before Christmas. Let's see. This isn't hindsight. I'm telling you what's going to happen in 2 weeks. We know where we will be. We know where we'll be in 2 weeks, and I've no doubt there'll be members on the opposite side getting up and saying, I thought my area was going to drop a tier just before Christmas. That's not levelling. That's not being straight, because that is not going to happen. Tier 1, the new Tier 1, may slow the rate of infection, but it won't prevent it increasing. And Tier 2 will struggle to hold the rate of infection.
Let's speak to our chief political correspondent, Craig, who's in central lobby for us. A couple of hours into that debate now, how is it going for the Conservatives?
Badly. They are deeply split. Sir Charles Walker is speaking at the moment. He will, I confidently predict, be among those Conservative MPs voting against the government. Sir Charles Walker is
it looking good or is it looking bad? That's the thing.
25 out of 112, so we've still got a long way to go. That announcement about help for pubs that don't serve food was described as small beer by Sir Keir Starmer. What is also interesting as the debate continues is the number of Labour MPs who stood up in the debate and said they too will vote against the government in the vote at 7 o'clock. Rather than upset the official Labour position, which is to abstain. Boris Johnson was very critical of Labour's position when he spoke earlier on. I'm joined now by one of the leaders of the rebellion, Mark Harper, former government minister, former chief whip, who chairs the COVID recovery group. Were you impressed at all by the Prime Minister's couple of offers, really? First of all, help for pubs, and secondly, a hint that he will agree to some of the calls from Conservative MPs for more localised restrictions.
John, the Prime Minister made it very clear over the weekend, and indeed the Foreign Secretary did as well, that the government thought that there was a very strong argument why counties were the right way of measuring this. And from my own point of view, I think it would be better if the government worked out its position based on evidence which had been published and put before MPs, and then made an argument and stuck to its guns, actually. I frankly would have more confidence if they did that than if they changed the position. Although, as you note, it was a hint, and my colleague Damien Green, one of the Kent MPs, noted it wasn't very specific. So from my own point of view, though, that's not what's troubling me. It's the fact that we were promised comprehensive amount of information showing how the balance had been struck between driving down COVID, non-COVID health harms, and the impact on the economy, and we weren't given that yesterday, and people in your profession took about 5 minutes to work out it really wasn't of any value at all, and I find that very disappointing. I don't want to be in this position. I want to support the government, but I'm afraid the government's made that impossible for me today.
What is the principal reason why you're voting against the government?
Well, I want to understand, are these measures going to be effective? So it's not clear to me that they're going to have the desired effect. I want them to drive down the rates of COVID, to save lives, and to make sure the NHS isn't overwhelmed. But they've not shown any evidence that specific measures are going to be effective, and we've seen they're going to have big impacts on the hospitality industry. I want to know the cost is worth it. And they haven't. They've made lots of claims about the National Health Service being overwhelmed, but they haven't published any of the information that they presumably have seen. And I'm afraid I'm not prepared to take them on, give them the benefit of the doubt, because before this lockdown, information was leaked to justify it based on overwhelming National Health Service. None of that was published. And it turned out to be wrong. And all I ask is the government should take MPs and the public into their confidence, share the information that they've got, make the argument, and then I think they would find more people willing to go with them on it.
What's your prediction of how many Conservative MPs are going to vote against the government?
Well, I don't know. All I know, John, is that around 34 voted against the government last time. 70 colleagues wrote with me to the Prime Minister asking for this information. I've set out my views that colleagues will have to make their own decision, on behalf of their constituents. So I don't know. But I regret being in this position. I want, as far as possible, to have a united party, united house, actually, to combat this virus. But I do think, as members of Parliament, our job is to hold the government to account, to check we're making the best decisions possible. And for that to be the case, the government's got to be much more open and transparent with the information on which it's basing those difficult decisions.
What do you say to the Prime Minister saying towards the end of his speech, we've got to hold our nerve until the vaccine comes?
Well, I agree it's very positive about the vaccine, and I agree we need to get the decisions right between now and then. But that's exactly why I want to see the best information, the information ministers have seen, look at how they're balancing saving lives and saving livelihoods, so that we're in the best possible position when we've rolled out those vaccines and the economy can be opened up again. I want the largest number of businesses, the largest number of jobs to be there, so that we can bounce back as quickly as possible and get our country back on track. That's what I want to see, and I want the Prime Minister to set out a plan to get us there.
Mark Harper, thank you very much. Well, there you have Mark Harper, one of the leading COVID rebels, saying he needs more information, more evidence from the government, pointing out inconsistencies. I noticed he said bounce back rather than build back better, which is the Prime Minister's preferred slogan. Plenty more speeches to come. The vote is at 7 o'clock.
John, thank you. Well, tomorrow we'll see the country adhering to those new toughened rules to control the virus in England. But how are people feeling about returning to a tier system? Worcestershire, like the majority of England, will fall under tier 2 restrictions from tomorrow. Sky's Becky Johnson is there. We can see the Christmas stalls behind you, but a very quiet high street for this time of year, Becky.
That's right, not too many Christmas markets opening this year, but we found a Christmas market stall. So although the high street not as busy as Christmas just yet, I can confirm it does smell quite a lot like Christmas, which is very nice. But yeah, the store owners here will be hoping that from tomorrow, high streets will be a bit busier because, of course, across all the tiers, shops can open. So particularly independent store owners will be hoping that people do come out, do spend their money, do get their Christmas shopping done, and really help those businesses that have struggled over recent weeks. As you say, Worcestershire here in tier 2. Now, I think a lot of people I've spoken to feeling quite lucky they've avoided those stricter tier 3 restrictions, because many neighbouring areas, say Birmingham and Warwickshire, for example, falling into tier 3. So look, at least here they can go to the pub, even if they do have to have a meal with it, and can only go with people from their households. But it will feel a little bit more like normal. And let me introduce you here now to Heather and Chris, because like I said, I've been finding out what people are looking forward to being able to doing within these new rules. Heather, what are you looking forward to doing from tomorrow?
Honestly, just getting out and not sitting in the same room again and again and again, and like going down the street and seeing other people, because at the minute it seems a little bit dead. It's quite depressing.
I know, just December the 1st,
Yeah.
and you look around, it really doesn't feel like Christmas at all, does it?
It doesn't really feel festive at all. Like, I miss that lead up to Christmas atmosphere that we really don't have this year. It's horrible.
And Chris, I know you actually work in retail, so you know, shops reopening means back to work. Are you looking forward to that?
Well, yeah, it's something to do, something to get out of the house instead of being stuck between like four walls all the time. Really, it takes a toll on you. To be fair, it'd be nice to go out and actually see people, even if it is just in a work atmosphere. Like, luckily I work with some friends, so hopefully we can start up and be alright. To be honest.
And how about going to the pub? Do you think you might get a visit in the next couple of weeks?
Go a few times. To be fair, stay safe. We'll go a few times, I'm sure.
Just a few. Well, thank you so much for talking to us. So yeah, people actually starting, I think, to look forward a little bit. You know, it's obviously not going to feel like a normal run up to Christmas, but I think particularly in areas like this in tier 2, people are hoping that from tomorrow it is going to feel slightly more normal than it has done for the last few weeks.
Becky Johnson, thanks very much. Now, Debenhams has confirmed that it is going into liquidation, putting 12,000 jobs at
Well,
the department store.
hope you all enjoyed that video, guys and girls. Give it a like, give it a comment, share it with your friends. And I'll see you in the next video. Peace.